As human beings, many a times when we don't get our desired outcomes or results, we always tend to justify, blame circumstances, blame people, or complain. This happens simply because many people don't understand that things don't happen the way they think they should. Everything in this world happens in alignment with laws and principles. If you look into life deeply, you will realize that nature, human behavior, success, failure, relationships, everything operates in alignment with recurring principles and laws. I call them universal laws of nature. Those laws governs the outcomes we get at the end of the day. Today, I have done a research. I have come across so many laws and principles, but because of time, I have outlined just the most important ones for you and for me. So I've written them down. So I'm gonna read them very fast just to save on time. I won't expound much on them so that I can make this video as short as possible. There is so much that I can add to them, but because of time, I'm just going to read through very fast. So the first law that I've found out is called the law of cause and effect. Recently, there is a book I was reading. It is called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. You should read that book. It's a very great masterpiece. And there is a part he was saying, he was talking about, actually in his book, he talks about the law of cause and effect. And he was saying, your health is a result. Your bank account is a result. Your body weight is a result. That we live in a world of cause and effect. That is exactly what I found out as one of the principles that governs nature. Now, this law says that every effect has a cause. Your current results are largely connected to previous decisions, actions, habits, and circumstances. If you consistently change the causes, you eventually change the effects. Don't complain about results. Never ever complain about results, because results are just outcomes of your decisions, outcomes of your choices, and outcomes of your actions. The second law is the law of action, and it says nothing meaningful changes without action. Knowledge, intentions, dreams, and plans have little value until acted upon. Knowing what to do is not the same as doing it. Knowing something and not acting upon it doesn't make any difference. If you know so much and you don't act upon the knowledge you have, then definitely that knowledge is not going to be impactful to you. The second law is the law of consequences. The law of consequences. And it says actions have consequences, whether positive or negative. Plant discipline, consistency, and learning, and you increase your chances of producing desirable outcomes. Plant procrastination and poor decisions, and consequences eventually follow. And it says that you are free to choose. Every single human being out there is always free to make their choice. But this is the sad part. You are never free from the consequences of your choice. You can choose to be lazy and scroll through social media all the time, all day. You can choose to eat junk food the way you want. You can choose not to be competent in your line of expertise or in your field or in your business. You can choose not to be committed to doing the work or learning or whichever thing you are supposed to do. But at the end of the day, you can never be free from the consequence of that choice. You'll never be free from the consequence of eating junk food. You'll never be free from the consequence of procrastination. You can never be free from the consequence of laziness. Consequences doesn't care about your feelings or your ego. You will face them whether you want it or not. That is the sad part about that principle. Let us proceed. The fourth law is called the law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity, it says that when you consistently produce value, kindness, support, knowledge, or opportunity, people are more inclined to reciprocate. The lesson learned from that principle is that you should become a person who contributes before asking, what am I getting? So before you ask people, or before you ask yourself what you get from them, you should always ask yourself, what do I contribute? The fifth law is the law of entropy. The law of entropy. And the law of entropy says that things left unattended tend to deteriorate. Businesses need management, relationships need attention, skills need practice, teams need leadership. Maintenance requires intentional effort. The sixth law is called the law of compounding, or what we call the compound effect. That is also a book you should read. The compound effect is a very great masterpiece as well. I've read it. And it says that small actions repeated consistently can produce enormous results over time. Small actions repeated consistently can produce enormous results over time. And remember, the results I'm talking about, these enormous results I'm talking about, can either be positive results or negative results. So it simply means that small positive actions compounded over time leads to massive success. At the same time, small bad choices compounded over time leads to massive failure. That is the truth. This applies to money, knowledge, relationships, fitness, reputation, and business. Don't underestimate what seemingly insignificant daily actions can become after years. Let's proceed as I come to the end of this. The seventh law is the law of rhythm and cycles. The law of rhythm and cycles. And it says that nature operates through cycles, or what we call we live in the world of duality. I was reading it in a certain book. It was saying that we live in a world of duality, that we have day and night, light and darkness, we have left and right. Almost everything exists in pairs, two sides. Now, human life also contains seasons, periods of expansion, struggle, learning, rest, and rebuilding. Lesson learned: don't assume every difficulty season will last forever. The eighth law is called the law of focus. The law of focus. And the law of focus says, where you consistently direct your attention, you tend to develop greater awareness and capability. Where focus goes, energy flows. That is the point. Now, if someone constantly studies opportunities, they notice opportunities that others overlook. If someone constantly focuses on problems, problems always dominates their perceptions. And by the way, as a matter of fact, do you know that most people look around your life, in your neighborhood, in your family, in your circle of friends? Have you realized that those people who are always complaining, they are always having tons and tons of problems? Are you aware of that? Someone who is always complaining, they are always having problems. Last week, their child was hit by a truck. This week, this thing has happened to them. Next week, another problem. They're always having problems. And they are the ones attracting these problems to their life, because instead of focusing on solutions and on positive side of life, they're always focusing on problems and complaining and blaming. And that is exactly what they do attract. Now, listen, guard your attention, because attention influences behavior. And as I come to the end of this, I have some take-home points. Number one, the powerful question shouldn't simply what I want or what do I want, but rather what laws and principles must I align myself with to produce the results I want? The results you want will not come the way you think they should. They will only come if you align with the principles that produces those results. I believe that point is home. Now, another point, the deeper you understand these principles, the more you realize that success is less about luck and more about alignment. It is never about luck. It is always about alignment and obeying the laws and principles that governs how everything works. Then finally, master the principles, master your actions, and you dramatically increase your ability to shape your future. That is the end of it.